Mayor de Blasio's housing plans are stirring both support and suspicion across Brooklyn and the other boroughs. And nowhere are the feelings stronger than at NYCHA developments that have been targeted for the administration's Infill program. That's where City Hall wants to build new housing on NYCHA land, some market rate, some subsidized as affordable housing, and use the lease payments to help plug the Housing Authority's budget gaps. 3 of the 5 sites named so far are in Brooklyn, and our Steve DeSev has been listening to what some residents and activists are saying about it.
NYCHA faces a $17 billion deficit in unmet major capital repairs. And as a part of the 10-year Next Generation NYCHA plan and Mayor de Blasio's affordable housing plan, Wyckoff Gardens has been chosen as one of the sites for infill development.
Infill is NYCHA using quote-unquote underutilized land to create more development so that they can generate revenue for, a system that is significantly historically underfunded.
Wyckoff Gardens is a housing development that sits in the Borum Hill/Gowanus area, and it was chosen as a part of NYCHA's Next Generation plan as one of the sites to be leased to private developers. The idea around choosing Wyckoff Gardens was because it sits in a neighborhood that has already been heavily gentrified, and the idea is that building market rate housing on that site would generate the most revenue.
How can you just build a tower in the middle of a public housing development? What's the effects that that's going to have on the children and the people that live in public housing? How is that going to work?
Buildings are crumbling. There's a lot of capital repairs that need to happen. Roofing repairs are a major issue that leads to flooding and very wide sweeping mold issue within public housing.
It seems that Mayor de Blasio, you're still creating 2 cities. NYCHA will in effect be 2 cities. You'll have a more luxurious building for new people coming in, and then us still dealing with the amenities that we have. I don't hear any guarantees of any restructuring in terms of NYCHA, in terms of how they deal with money.
If anyone is cynical about the history, I don't blame you.
Because of a long history of NYCHA not being very transparent in their dealings, residents are naturally suspicious of what this plan means. A lot of them have voiced the concern that building market rate housing on their development is just another tactic for moving them out and displacing them as residents.
Other people may come here and try to take from us, but we have built our lives here, our grandparents, our children. We're trying to make something for them, and now you have the audacity to step on our grounds and say they no longer belong to us.
Resident engagement around the current infill proposal began in September, and after 2 months of frustration with questions and concerns going unanswered, residents have demanded that NYCHA change their strategy of engagement.
What the tenants have been saying loud and clear is that they need to have a role in this.
Before you can make a decision, you need to know more financial information, and NYCHA does not give that.
Today, I am releasing an audit which reveals that our city's public housing authority is failing its tenants and failing our city when it comes to maintenance and repairs. Right. The findings are shocking.
If one of the biggest problems we're having is NYCHA and the misappropriation of funds, why is it that we keep asking the government to put more money into NYCHA?
Just because you say you're raising money to take care of our needs, you got to take care of the needs currently with the money that we have to show good faith. Because if we are waiting for you to give us some money later, I don't trust that it's going to work that way. I really don't.
The fact that there are 600,000 residents living in public housing, there is a massive untapped power base to change the system. The challenge is organizing that power base and actually empowering them with the ability to use their power, their voting power, to change the regulations and to change the laws.
We're here in solidarity with Wyckoff Garden residents to say stop the infill. The residents are up in arms throughout the 5 boroughs. We do not want privatization of our public lands. You found $26 billion for the MTA. You did not make them give up any railroads, trains, or staff for that money. We believe that the city can find that money through other means.
With the Next Gen program, we know that NYCHA is in a deficit. We understand that. But is there other ways we can look at to bring money into the city itself and into NYCHA?
The honest answer is that no, we don't actually know of a lot of ways to make money that we haven't found. I'm sure at any given moment someone might find us a specific thing that's real and helpful. But if you say big picture, are there things that can replace the kind of sheer amount of money we're talking about here? No, we do not believe there is. We do not believe there is.
Brooklyn right now is serving as the pilot for how NYCHA addresses their infill projects citywide. And so right now, all eyes are on Brooklyn to see how the community and NYCHA works together to come up with a plan that benefits the residents of public housing.
Together we stand! 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 Together we stand!
So deep concerns there at Wyckoff Gardens, and we expect at Ingersoll and Van Dyke houses, the other Brooklyn sites involved in these proposed deals. So let's learn more about what people like and loathe about this infill plan. Joining me to talk about that today are Vic Bach, Senior Housing Policy Analyst at the Community Service Society of New York. Hi, Vic.
Hi.
Lisa Kenner, the President of the Tenant Association at Van Dyke 1. Welcome back, Lisa.
Hello.
And joining us via Skype, Wyckoff Gardens resident and a member of Families United for Racial and Economic Equality, or FUREE, and one of the folks we just saw in the video, Bev Corbin. Hi, Bev.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, everybody. Vic, tell us about the rationale behind infill. Is this about building affordable housing? Is this about plugging a deficit? What's the reason for it?
It's really about both. For most of its 80 years, NYCHA has been a national model of how to run public housing. And it has the largest public housing program in the country, by far and large. But it's now in serious financial trouble, and the Next Generation plan, 10-year plan, is an attempt by NYCHA to work its way out of its financial problems, which Tia and others have already well described. The idea behind, NYCHA hates the word, behind the infill program is to use some of NYCHA's assets, its land. Public housing was built on the Tower in the Park model, so it has a lot of open land. To use some of that land to build housing. The plan calls for 80% of it to be affordable. When I say affordable, that means affordable to a family of 3 earning about $46,000. But what we have is a plan to build affordable housing that will generate revenue for NYCHA, where it can build 50% market, 50% affordable. The revenue generated by the infill program is the largest source of revenue in NYCHA's 10-year plan. So for NYCHA, this is a critical component of its plan, and I think a question of survival. And I think the hope is that the revenue generated by development will go a long way toward dealing with the problems residents struggle with daily, which are leaking roofs that cause problems down the line, failing elevators, toxic molds, and the like. So the problems are there. NYCHA is moving forward with this. I think in my view, it's going to be hard to resist unless a great deal of political strength is gathered in opposition.
Lisa, I know that you are among those who's prepared to resist. You live at Van Dyke. You're the resident leader there. That's one of the 3 sites that have been targeted for the 100% affordable version of what NYCHA doesn't like us to call the infill program. 100% affordable housing, that sounds great. What's not to like?
What is affordable? And you say family of three, $46,000. What people going to be there? It's not the people that live there. I mean, you have people that have children, they're going to grow up, they go to work. They don't have the money to come in, so they're going to stay home till they're 40 and 50 years old. No. But the thing is with the next generation, we already getting something built under Canberra. That's a low income and supportive housing. And that's been in when Bloomberg came in. Now they come in and hit us again with the next generation. And then here they have the $1.8 million sitting in their bank account. Should have been a separate account for Van Dyke houses to fix things there.
At your development, as it stands now, where would this new facility go, have they said specifically?
Right, where the garbage is at. So where the garbage gonna go? It's supposed to go on Dumont Avenue, across the street from the big park, Van Dyke Park. So where the garbage is gonna go? So you're gonna move the garbage somewhere else? Where?
Beverly, the concerns you have at Wyckoff Gardens, do those mirror what Lisa's talking about, or are they different? Because that's one of the developments where it's a 50-50 model that they're planning on doing.
Ours is same but slightly different because it's going right in a parking lot in front of two buildings, and you're going to build this massive structure in a neighborhood that's already being gentrified and where you have a lot of apartments empty already in the neighborhood. So it's going to be like in our windows, this development. And I'm wondering how safe it's going to be to build this development, this building in front of the other two buildings in a parking lot that tends to flood also. So let us talk about that part too. It tends to flood a lot due to the Gowanus Canal.
The response that the mayor had at that event we saw the video of was that basically, we need the money and there's no other place to get it. What did you think, Bev, of his answer to that question?
I thought his answer was very shady, but it was a political answer. I think as a general, you should always find an exit in, but you should always have two exits for your people to retreat. I think NYCHA is not trying to look at anything else when it comes to the Infill NYCHA Next Gen plan. I think they're just using that strategy alone. They don't want to hear any other ideas or investigate any other ideas instead of building massive towers in a neighborhood that's already cluttered with development.
So, Vic, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. Mayor Bloomberg had a similar proposal, different in some ways. What is the difference between that plan, which obviously did not come into effect, and this one, which is still alive as far as we know?
I think the major difference is one of process. NYCHA is doing everything this time since the mayor was elected, Mayor de Blasio, to engage residents in the process. Some residents complain about too many meetings with NYCHA, but I think it's an authentic mutual effort on the part of residents and NYCHA to come to some sort of agreement as to what will ultimately benefit the community most.
Your facility, your development was the site of one of those engagement efforts from early in the administration. What did you think about it?
I think they try to shaft the people. They didn't tell the truth. They send in a good-looking black man, talk well, smell good, and yeah, we're going to do this, right? Oh, we're going to have affordable housing for seniors. Majority of people come to the meetings are seniors. So they did the survey. They had this button. They pressed it. I said, y'all don't know what you just did. Then after that, they got rid of Mr. Crawley, who was the vice president of the real estate. They got rid of him, and then they come with this. So then the people realize, wait a minute, we the seniors, if you're a senior, you on a fixed income, you retired, how you going to go in there? So they knew how to maneuver the people to get in there, and then once they in there now, they haven't done anything. We supposed to be the next generation. I go through the hallways, the walls are beige, but yet when you fix the wall, you put gray paint on it. You're supposed to put beige paint. We color coordinated people.
Bev, one of the issues that gets talked about a lot with NYCHA, and again it came up in that video, is the maintenance problems. And I think part of the rationale on NYCHA's part for doing infill is to try to deal with that. What are conditions like at Wyckoff Gardens? Have they improved recently? Because Next Generation calls for a few different steps to improve response to maintenance complaints. What do things look like there?
Well, I want to say one thing, too, different in Wyckoff Gardens, and I think Dyke, I'm not sure, is that we're under the ULA process, where it has to come through a certain step that have to be voted on. And when NYCHA Next Generation comes, they don't explain that process to the residents. But since the mayor has been here, they have been scrubbing walls and doing the floors and fixing things on the inside quickly so that the residents can say, oh, see what they're doing now? Oh, this can, NYCHA's trying to help us. NYCHA's trying to be our friend. When they should be looking at, if NYCHA can come in and do all the scrubbing of the walls and re-varnishing the floors and all that, they can do it from the beginning. Where did they get all these extra people to come clean up? So I think it's a catch-22 game with the residents, and they're playing with the residents' head. And I hope a lot of my residents realize that this is a game. If NYCHA can scrub a floor and wash a wall today, tomorrow they can scrub a floor and wash a wall.
Well, I hope the mayor come to Dyke so they can start scrubbing walls and washing floors and doing all that and painting and stuff like that.
I hope that good-smelling man comes to my house.
Well, he ain't gonna come to your house because they fired him. But I'm just saying, with the mayor should have came to Dyke as that supposed to have been one of the pilot program. He should have came and sat down like he did over there in Wyckoff. Maybe we have got the walls, the windows.
That's a good question. So, Vic, step away from the policy. Let's talk politics for a second, because that probably has something to do with this.
I'll try.
What do you think of the way that the administration has rolled this out? Much of the critique of de Blasio is about how they have sold things, and it sounds like they have not sold, at least our two guests here.
Well, I think they're dealing with a lot of justified anger and resentment on the part of residents over conditions for the last decades. And in a sense, NYCHA is caught in between, because NYCHA's situation and its shift from a national model to a troubled authority is a result of government disinvestment, particularly by the federal government, but also by the state and the city. And residents are bearing the brunt of it in terms of living conditions. And NYCHA is trying to do, in my view, some sort of balancing act, try to do what it can to generate money to improve conditions. On the other hand, it's inherited a good deal of resident anger from prior administrations.
But listen, what you're saying is that I have residents that live right now, their bathrooms are messed up. It shouldn't have to take Next Generation to come and fix their bathrooms. From the 10th floor down on the D side and the A side in the building, I went there, the people bathroom messed up. One lady told me she'd been fighting this for 2 years. And I said, why you haven't come to me? Because she's so angry and you get frustrated and they feel hopeless. I told them, you're never supposed to feel hopeless. Now, I was born and raised in Dyke, and my mother always say, this is your home. If you don't take care of your home, who's going to take care of it? I be getting a lot of flack, and they think this is a paying job. This ain't a paying job, but I live here, and I'm probably going to die here. So they got to come in and do something better. Right. I mean, it don't take a whole bunch of money to fix things up, but you want people to, when you have mold in your house, when your bathroom's not fit, that causes a health hazard. And nobody's seeing that. And I'm just tired for people be living like that because we deserve better. I don't care if they say we the poorest community. We can't be that poor if everybody want to come in there.
So let me ask Bev, what do you think is the solution to this? Do you think there can be an improved infill development plan? Do you want to see it go away? If you had your druthers, what would NYCHA do?
I think NYCHA should sit down and start to look for other ways to get money. Not through building towers that are going to cause dust, take away from, and people think it's funny when you talk about sunlight and children, taking away play areas from children. These are important factors where we live in. So I think NYCHA could look at other ways for getting money. But also, I want my residents to come outside, start to talk to your political people. Hillary Clinton wants to be president, so does Donald Trump. Let's if NYCHA residents got together and let's go to the Democratic Convention and say, look, let's put that money back into federal housing. We vote also. You know, we have a strong power in voting. So if we go to those places and start reaching out to Governor Cuomo, who thinks this is a game that's being played because he gave money and then he took it back. Let's start looking at our elected officials that way of giving money back. But also, let's look at other ways besides building towers on property and giving up city land. Because what's going to happen is they're going to give them all these great tax breaks to build on these developments. When those tax breaks run out, they're going to abandon those buildings.
Vic,
Mark my words. I may not be here to see it, but that's what's going to happen.
Vic, probably a final thought. Is there another way? I mean, people talk about getting more help from the feds. Is that a viable option for the city?
Well, I think over the short term, Washington can't be relied on, clearly. It can't be relied on to maintain existing programs the way they've been maintained. So I think Beverly has a good idea, that is, get the national government to step back into housing and fund public housing, but that's a long haul, that's a long struggle. And if you want repairs made sooner rather than later, I think you have to work with NYCHA to be able to get the revenue it needs, to get the capital it needs, because all of this, the plumbing problems, the crumbling facades, is all a matter of capital. We've got to get it where we can get it. One of those places is Infill.
Yeah, but if you have $1.8 million that you already sold the land for Canberra, that's already there. That should have been in a separate account.
So this is a quick
and
answer.
you could use that money.
Do you think some development could be made to make sense at Van Dyke, or you want to see nothing built?
No, well, if it is like that, I would like for that big football field to be a football field. I would like for the NFL, the AFL, and anybody else to come and fix that. Don't take all the green space away, because they always say, you know, people are obese and they need exercise. You can't take all the green space from the kids and the families. So if they're going to do something like that, then let's bring in the NFL, the AFL to fix that, make a football field, a baseball field, so the kids can enjoy it. And I mean, I don't mind a diverse community. When we have a diverse community, we can live better as people. We'll know each other, because Brownsville always been a diverse community.
I think what you're saying, it really points to the need for when NYCHA comes in with an infill plan, for a community benefits agreement that makes NYCHA accountable for the $1.8 million it received with the Canberra development and so on. An agreement that's legally binding, written, and that residents can rely on to assure that whatever capital is generated goes into making improvements.
A topic for next time, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. A lot to talk about on this issue, and a long dance, I'm sure.